Hi, it's Kathy McAllister here. How are you today? I have these really cute English robin ornaments that I made. And I do have in my website, twife.com, I do have this PDF paint pattern that's available too, that does all the step-by-step of how to create this piece, and includes line drawings and a photo reference. And I wanted to do the tutorial on the little bird as a separate piece. So the video, this video will show you step by step how to do this robin. And this is on a 3-dimensional piece that I cut. You can see it's a piece that goes on here. But this can be painted flat, you know, just traditionally, where you trace on the pattern and then you paint it. So, but I did want to show you how, step by step, how I did this. And I hope you enjoyed the video. Thanks for stopping in to watch. Bye. See you in a minute. We're going to work on painting the body of the bird, the robin. And so oyster beige is what is on here. So it's color washed on top of buttermilk, because the whole ornament was painted in buttermilk to start with. So this is the way it turns out. This was the one I did 2 years ago. So, so this is actually, as I said, a color wash on top, a color wash of oyster beige on top of the buttermilk. Okay, so the next color wash that we're going to do is, color washes work really well to layer up color sometime in a really delicate way. We're going to move to driftwood, which is this color here. And we're concentrating the driftwood on the back and the belly, not the breast. So bit of driftwood, and you can use whatever kind of juicy brush you have. I use Lynn Andrews floaters. This is a 10, this is an 8. So 10 works fine and 8 works fine, but this will be faster because it's bigger, and it's not so big it's gonna get, you know, into the areas you don't want to be in. So we're going to create a little bit of a wash. And you're looking for an inky to a milky consistency. And if you need to, you can either blot or use a stippling brush, a brush like this that's designed to stipple, blend, and pick up some of the excess color, or you can blot with a paper towel. All right. So again, this is a color wash of driftwood. I think I may have already put it on this bird. I think this, I don't know. No, I think it just is oyster beige, because I wouldn't have put the driftwood there. It's just looking very similar. I don't know. I think it sure looks like there's driftwood on here, and I must have put it here as well. Let me see. I'm going to check these other 2 bird pieces I have, see if they're as dark. Yeah, they are. Well, I guess that's oyster beige. Okay. And dry in between applications. Yeah, I'm really puzzled. That looks like it's already on there. Huh. We don't know. So before, no, it is darker. It is darker. Okay. It dries darker. All right, you can see that on camera now. I haven't totally lost my mind. All right, so you always need to make sure that it's dry before you put a second coat, second color wash on. And you don't always need a second color wash, a second coat. You kind of just see how you feel about it. And I have this reference photo here that kind of shows you what we're trying to achieve. So you can see that this is lighter, but then there's gray here, and then this is more charcoal gray up here. So it kind of gives you an idea of what we're shooting for. So we don't really want to go much darker here. All right. So now I'm going to go ahead and use one of my rake brushes. So I have a 1/4 of an inch and a 3/8. This one probably just gives me a little bit more flexibility. I used this one the other day, but I think I might try the smaller one. And we're going to take a little bit of the neutral gray and start putting in some strokes. So I'm going to just start down here. This area here, as we showed on the picture, this area specifically is just a little bit darker than the rest of the body. And these feathers are kind of going this way. These were swooping that way, and these are kind of going this way. So we're going to try to follow that. So it's a little wet still there. So there's some grayness up here. And there's some grayness around here. And a little bit in here. And then this, we're going to start stroking down this way. Whoops, didn't mean to go quite so heavy, but it really doesn't matter. It's all creating an illusion. And we're going to continue to add some strokes up here. Yeah, I didn't want that. Okay. So we have some areas that are going to be even a little bit darker. And they're going to be done with charcoal gray. So there's some darker areas There's a little bit up here that's darker. And we're not really seeing all of the wing. This is showing us a lot lighter here, but we're not going to be able to, like, oh, let's do this exactly the way the picture is. We're not doing real life here. We're just doing illusions. Okay. All right, and we can go ahead. We're going to add in some color into the beak. And, oh, I forgot to get my liner brush out. Some kind of liner brush. Okay, so I'm going to start with a little bit of, what is this one? Driftwood. No, it's not driftwood. I'm losing track. Neutral gray. So a little bit of the neutral gray going in here. Because the beak is fairly dark. Now I'm painting a cutout of the bird onto this piece, but the pattern that I sold, or that I have for this isn't three-dimensional like this. You can just do it on a plain old round ornament. So you don't have to have this piece. I just happen to have this piece because I have a laser cutter. And then we'll come back with just a touch more. This is the charcoal gray, which is slightly darker. And I'm not really pressing down completely. I'm kind of scratchy laying it on. And I'm going to take that charcoal gray, and I'm just going to kind of come back into some of these areas in here where I want it to be darker. Kind of like follow my lines here a little bit. So sometimes you're just trying to add just a little texture. You're not really putting in a huge amount of paint. You're just kind of having an indication of the paint. So let me see. So like having this area here be a little bit darker coming in. And it looks very rough, and we're going to blend it later. So, but we're just adding in some texture. Now we're going to come back. You can, if you don't have a rake brush, you can use a liner and just add in the feathering. You can see it's very rough, so it doesn't need to be anything special. So I'm going to come back with my oyster beige. And just want to add in some lighter areas in here. Come back in here too. And then in here, this is all going to be like a white in here. I'm just going to add that in for now. So these feathers are kind of going that way, and then these feathers are kind of going in like this. Okay. And there's some tips of these in here that are lighter, so I'm just going to come in right there, just add in a little bit of lightness. And I'll add in a little bit of lightness up here around the head eye area. And a little bit up on the head. Oh, nope, didn't want to do that. So sometimes when you're using the rake brush, you have to figure out how much water to add in, whether to use water. So, okay. That's almost like swooping in like that. I'm going to come in with a little bit more gray, I think, as well. And then I'm going to have a little bit more of the gray sky. Okay, so a little bit of gray sky. So gray sky's a little cooler, and this wants to be cool in here. So this area has more coolness to the feathers. If you look, there's this gray in here is a little cooler. So these are kind of warmer grays, gray to tan. And then we'll come back up here and add in those colors. And even add a little bit up here. Again, I got more than I needed. And there's some back here as well. So my pattern includes this reference photo, which might help you to see some of the colors a little bit better. Okay. So now, let's see here. I want to come back with a little bit of warm white. Although I also have the sand gray. I may start with that before I move straight into the warm white. So what we're trying to do is make a couple of these areas a little lighter. So this area is not showing, but you have this area here, and it should be a little lighter. So you could use a liner. Got this brush right here. That was a little wet. I'll dry it and apply some more. Some of the area up here is really more gray, so I'm going to add in a little bit more gray again up there. And now I do want to get some, you can use warm white or snow white, or you can even use both if you want to kind of layer it, layer it a bit. I'm just taking my dirty brush that had the sand gray in it, and I'm coming back in. Just add in a little bit of that there. While I'm here, I'm even gonna just scratch in some white up there. All right, I won't worry too much about that area right now. Okay, so the eye is going to be black eventually, but I've got my charcoal gray here, and I'm gonna just go ahead and put a coat in there, and then I'll finish it off with lamp black a little later. All right, so now I'm gonna get another palette sheet so that I can work on my oranges. So let me just move that over a little bit. Okay. So one thing that we need to do is we're going to put honey brown here and then honey brown up at the top. So, and it's going to be a color wash. Come back in with this on the breast. Since I have etched wood, it kind of holds the color washes in place. If you know, since you're tracing on your image, you have to be a little bit more careful about where your color wash is going to run to. So mine kind of gets somewhat trapped by the score lines. Okay. Now, it's pretty wet, so we can use a paper towel to blot, or we can use one of these brushes here. So if your color wash is very wet like mine, you can just come back in and take some out, just like that, and it helps to blend it, or you can blot it with a paper towel. So we want a little bit of color up here, in this area up here. All right, dry back. I'm going to grab the rake brush again, and we're going to work on the breast. So the feathers are kind of going like this. So down, 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 curvy, 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 but mostly down. And we're going to use a combination of colors. So I have spiced pumpkin, then I have fresh mango, and then I have a little bit of jack-o'-lantern orange. So I'm going to just use a little bit of this, starting with the spiced pumpkin. So this bit is kind of going up a little bit. Oh, I need my thinner brush. I picked up my big one. That thing's a little bit too big for this project. So So I'm going to go back to the 1/4 inch. Okay, so back to the spiced pumpkin. So we're going to try to figure out which way the feathers are going. Okay, so that's the first round, spiced pumpkin. I'm going to dry it. Now I'm going to come in with a little bit of the fresh mango, which is the lighter color. Okay, so I'm going to do the same thing. Just kind of going back over some of the same territory. And lastly, I'm going to come back in with a little bit of the jack-o'-lantern orange. Alrighty. Okay, so I'm going to dry that a sec. I'm going to return to adding some color into the feathers. I'm going to, let's see, what color do I want? Take a little bit more of the driftwood. I just want to come back in and make it pretty watery. Make it even more watery than that. I'm just gonna kind of bring it in to some of those back feathers that are supposed to be a combination of dark and light. And then I'm gonna just add it in a little bit here as well. Okay. All right. So now, after that dries, I want to do a little bit of blending or dry brushing. So I'm going to take gray first of all, and this is a blending brush, dry brush blending brush. It's a Dynasty 200. It's a little softer than what you would expect from a blending brush. From a dry brush. It's more like a blending brush, and you can use either. And I'm just going to come in. I want a little less noticeable lines of feathering there. So I'm going to come in with my Gray Sky, and same here as well. Just kind of blending those. Go over the tip of the nose a little bit. So just trying to blend the colors, make it so that my feathers don't seem quite so, I don't mind these so much, but these up here are just a little bit more prominent lines. So I'm going to do that. Okay. And then I'm going to come back in with a little bit of the neutral gray. I'm just using my dirty brush. I'm just going to come in, go back over some of this area up here. And again, that's neutral gray. I will come back and add in a little bit more into the head area of the neutral gray. That's about right. And in my artwork, I did add in a little bit more honey brown. This doesn't actually have it. It has just a touch of it up here, but I just like it. I think on my computer picture it shows up more that honey brown color. It's showing up a little bit more of that tint than my laser printer version of it. So I'm going to go back up here where we had this before. I'm just going to reinforce that. So I'm adding in some little strokes of snow, actually warm white. You can use snow white or warm white in some of these areas with a liner brush. I'm going to come back in here too. I don't have enough water in that. I didn't have enough water, and now I have too much water. And even some little white strokes on the back. I took my rake brush and a little bit of the neutral gray, and I've added some of these feathery strokes back in just ever so lightly. You don't want to go back to having it choppy looking again. Now we want to have a color wash, so you can see it's very choppy right now, and you might like it like that and you can stop, but if you want to blend it back a little bit more, you can do a color wash. And I'm going to try a color wash with the jack-o'-lantern orange. I had done it before with the spiced pumpkin, and that's nice too. But I'm I'm going to start with the jack-o'-lantern, and I'm just going to see what it looks like. Okay. So this is very, very watery. So I purposely didn't want it to be, I didn't want it to mask what we've already done, but I want it to enhance the color and blend the feathering. Now I'm going to do the same with the neon torrid orange. So I'm going to create a little bit of a color wash, and I'm going to go back over that. Again, I don't want it to be too thick because I don't want it to take away from what we have already done. I just want it to enhance what we were working on. Okay, so this is one I did previously, and I want it to make this one just a little bit brighter. So I've done a couple of things different. And I used this saffron yellow as a highlight on the edge. So you can see there that there's a brightness where the sun is shining on the breast there, or the throat area. And so I used saffron yellow before. I'm going to try a little bit of this Dairy Lied yellow, which is in the Media Fluid line. And I'm going to take my blender, and I'm going to just see, because these Media Fluid colors are really, really vivid. And I'm just curious what it's going to look like compared to having used the saffron yellow. It may be too translucent. It is very translucent. Oh, and I also added in black here and a little bit of black there. So I'm going to go back to the saffron yellow. So this is the saffron here. That was the Dairy Lied. The saffron isn't going to be quite as translucent, because it's almost like the Dairy Lied was just too translucent. So I'm gonna bring that in. Yeah, I'm getting more color off of that. Okay. So sometimes you don't know. You got to play with it. Yeah. So that's picking up that little bit of brightness. Just put it a little there too. I think that works. Okay, so we need to put a little bit of a line in the eye. So that's pretty much all you have to do for the line. So not so much a dot as a reflective line. You can see. You could do a dot. That works too. I'm just following the photo. So that's really pretty much everything. And I do like it better. Eventually I got to the right answer on this, but I did a lot of things along the way that I didn't need to do. So I repainted this knowing what I knew. So there were a couple of steps that I took out. So the look is very similar, but the breast area, you can see more of the feathering, and I think it's brighter. So I came back in here with some jack-o'-lantern and some spice pumpkin and everything. But because of the way I did this, we didn't really need to do that. So I prefer new one over old one. All right. Thank you so much.